So where do you think is the horizon? So if we take this line along the bottom of these pillars, is that rising or falling, or is that flat? It's rising a little bit, right? So we know that the eye level is above that. And then this line right here, this line up here is falling a little bit, right? So we know that the horizon line is somewhere in between those two, right? All of these lines are dropping. We notice that we want to line these windows up on the vertical, right? All the windows that line up this way. So notice how these windows could all be set up into a vertical, set up in there. These can all be set up. The height of all these windows are going to happen along a line that goes off towards vanishing point. The bottom of those windows are all going to line up. Bottoms of these and the tops of these. Looks like they're lining up. These are lining up on the vertical. They also line up height-wise with those. So I'm just trying to sort of understand what's happening here. These three and this part here, again, are an anomaly. They don't line up exactly with the rest of the building. But I might say this part of the building here and then this part of the building here are probably about the same size. And then this part of the building here is probably about the same size as that. So see how these are getting smaller? You guys remember how to measure off in the distance when we do our measuring? If I take a square and I X across it, then I should find the middle of that square. And then if I go through the middle off to my vanishing point and I come and I make this the middle of the next square, then I come through here and it should hit the next so that these two are the same. And that should hit the center right there. So then I come from this point to here and it should hit that point there and make this the same. Here's the center where I'm going to line up my poles. But notice that I can go down here like this. And these lines get closer and closer. My horizon line is probably barely above those benches because the person who took this picture was actually standing down here in the grass. So I'm seeing these benches pretty much line up straight along there. So I'm going to say my horizon line is, if I take this sheet of paper, I'm only going to go maybe even a fifth of the way up, right? Not very far up at all to make my horizon. And then I've got to have all of these things dropping down out of there. Notice that this archway happens maybe about a third of the way from the edge of the paper here. If I take the whole sheet of paper and I come barely up from the bottom, maybe if this is half, then this is a quarter. I'm going to go just below that. I'm going to say that my horizon line is there. And I'm going to take that line and I'm going to draw it because I'm better drawing right to left. I flipped my page. I'm going to probably measure that and take it to the other end of the page. Give myself a dot over there to aim to. So now I can put my pencil here because I'm going a long ways. My eye over here where I'm headed. And aim and shoot for it. All right, so that's going to be my horizon line. I know that about a third of the way in is where the arch comes. So I'm going to come over to my paper about a third. I'm going to give myself a white guideline here. You should be using an H or a 2H pencil so that you're drawing very lightly on this. And then I see that from this upper corner comes down to a vanishing point left. Now my vanishing point is actually off the page, right? So I don't really know where that's going to be, but maybe I want to set something up at the beginning. So I'm going to take a piece of tape and I'm going to go off the page just a little bit. I'm going to loop that tape back over. so it's not sticky on the back. You can just tape this right down onto your desk if you want, but I've got something set up over here that's going to be a vanishing point left. So I'm just going to put a mark over here that I'm going to aim towards. It's going to be my left vanishing point. Now, you don't need to necessarily do this in every single drawing, but it's probably a good idea to know where you're headed and always keep your lines converging, right? So now on my page, if I'm coming from the top corner, I'm going all the way down to a point off the left side of the page. Maybe I want to look at that drawing and say, well, the left side of the page, it comes to about the middle here. This is where the buildings run off the page. So now I'm going from the top right corner to the middle of my page on the left, and I'm getting a line drawn like that. So all of my drawing is going to fit now within this space here. This is the triangle that I was talking about above the building, the triangle of sky. The archway is going to be about halfway between this line and that line. So I'm going to go about halfway there. And I draw towards that vanishing point left. And then I notice that the archway comes higher than the other lines of the arches. So I'm going to drop down just a little bit. I'm going to get that in. So I'm sort of sketching along here to get this line drawn in here. And this is going to be the top of my archway up here. That's also going to be pretty close to the line for the bottom of my windows up there. This is going to be the top of the gray part where the gray meets the white, this line that I've just done here. So I'm going to set my archway up here like this, about what I think is a height to width proportion. So if I measure the height of that and then the width of it, it seems just a little less this direction than that direction. So I'm pretty good right now, I think. I want to make sure I put this in the middle. So I want to make it a little wider here than it is on this side. Let's see if this is going to actually measure out to be the center. That feels pretty good. The top of the arch actually comes to about this line. So this is where I'm going to peak my arch, and the center of it's going to be just a little bit this direction of center. I'm going to come in this way a little bit, and then I'm going to come in this way, but a little bit less than that. So I want to make sure that this end here is a little wider than that end in there. I'm just sketching, so I'm not actually going to be really precise about that, but I'm going to make sure this is a little smaller than that. Then I'm headed up here. I would say that that tan part of the arch that goes above the arches is down in here somewhere, probably. So I'm imagining a tangent on that arch that the arch goes up in this direction, and then there's a circle on top of a square, right? On top of a rectangle. So that circle is going to center up here. So if I just draw a circle like that, I'm going to push the arch a little bit this way. I'm going to say the arch comes longer on this side, a little flatter on that side. And that's going to make it so my arch doesn't lean too much forward. Looks like my line's tilting just a little bit that way. So that's why I'm trying to find these tangent points here and here to say these lines are going to go straight up. And then here, I'm drawing a curve between here and there. I'm trying to round it out, and a curve between here and here. And I imagine maybe rounded out like that. I'm going to take the top of this. I'm going to X from here to the floor. Then I know my arches are going to happen above that, but I'm going to get a good grid drawn out here. So just take this bottom part where the rectangle sits, X across that, and let's take that middle line off to our vanishing point. That's going to be more useful. Then I can take the end of this and the end of that, and I can make this my new center. And I'm going to draw a line from here to there. And I'm going to continue that line until I hit this line up here. And I'm going to drop it straight down. Then I'm going to do that again. And again. And again. So that I created here diminishing boxes. These are all going to be about the same size, but this is where I'm going to put the pillars that I see. So there's 2 arches in here in this box. And then there's 2 flat windows actually in the next box. And then the next box starts to get covered up. And then this is the end where the arch is going to come up. And this is going to be the end of my building here. And then at the end of my drawing, I'm going to go and make sure that I have right vanishing point things drawn and directional kind of things. I may want to go into spots like this and say that there's glass in these and that these are quite empty. That's why I'm seeing the edge of that so clearly. And I'm seeing glass up here. This feels a little bit high to me. It feels like this should probably be dropped down into this level somewhere so that this window is smaller. That thing's there, and that would make this all go a little smaller, and these windows up here would be shorter. Got them drawn quite big. So I can adjust those kind of things